All right, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to give you a little introduction into entrepreneurship, what it is and what it isn't, pros and cons, things like that. Okay, let's get started. What is entrepreneurship and what is an entrepreneur? Well, you can look up several definitions on the web, but let me put it to you in Dawnese. It's a way to make money without being an employee. It's a way to make money or earn money without being an employee. It's like having your own business, going solo, self-employed, hanging up your own shingle, and in the US, it's not a W-2 income earner. On a previous video, I talked about lessons I learned being an independent math tutor, and that was an example of entrepreneurship. When I was in elementary school, my first experience as an entrepreneur is when I went door to door asking the owner of the house if I could cut their grass. I looked for houses that looked like it was not kept for a while. I didn't look for the ones that are nice and neat. I looked for the ones that are up to your knees. Anyhow, so I went door to door and I would knock on the door, ring the doorbell, and ask the owner, who usually was the one that would answer the door, and ask them if I could cut their grass and, if they would mind paying me for it. And if so, I would schedule a time and come back with a mower and edger and do the job. But like any door-to-door type salesman, I got a lot more no's than I got yeses. Most of the yeses were very tough projects. Some of them, I remember one guy took me into his backyard to show me what he needed done, and there was a lot of debris in the grass, parts of his barbecue, kids' toys. The grass was really tall, heavy objects that I couldn't move, but I worked around. So instead of starting out small and doing easy stuff first, I started the hard stuff first. I probably got the idea of doing this from some TV show back in the day, like Dennis the Menace or something like that, back when kids did things like that on a regular basis. I had no idea what the value of things were. I didn't know how much to charge. I didn't know how much gasoline was. The mowing was the easy part. I did that at my own home, my family's home. And I knew how much my parents paid me when I cut the grass at home. So at least I had a starting point for negotiations for how much to charge them. And it wasn't an hourly rate, it was a job rate. And our yard was pretty pristine compared to some of the yards I went to. So I started out with saying, I'll charge you this amount. And some of these owners, believe it or not, back in the day would haggle over how much they're willing to pay. And I was willing to take less just to get, my business started. Anyhow, on one job I ran out of gas. I mean, it was really challenging. I mean, I'm surprised I didn't kill the lawnmower. And the lawnmower ran out of gas, and I ran home to see if I had some more gas, and it was empty. So, and my parents weren't around. I had no adults to ask, so I brought the gas can up to the owner, and I said, hey, I'm about halfway through your lawn. Can you give me a few bucks to get gas? Well, back then, compared to today, gas was just, pennies. And he asked me how much I needed, and I said $5, and he thought for a moment, and he started laughing. And I thought he was going to die laughing, and I was quite embarrassed. My feelings were hurt because I didn't know. So I gave me a couple quarters, and I went down to the local gas station and put the gas in the gas can and came back and finished the job. Anyhow, so that was my first experience being an entrepreneur, doing my own thing. Lots of lessons, lots of embarrassing situations, but I didn't give up. And speaking of negotiations, the first and most difficult negotiation I had in this enterprise was talking my father into letting me use the yard tools for this. After some talking and telling him what I wanted to do, he finally agreed. He told me the usual father to son talk, like, don't break nothing, bring it all back in one piece. Anyhow, that was my first experience. So it wasn't a big money maker, but it at least got me out of the house and gave me something to do in the summertime. I would keep the money I earned from these services that I would provide. Probably most of it, I don't remember when I brought it home to my dad, told him how much he would, how much I made. And probably the person who gave the most, what's the word I'm looking for, sacrifice for my little enterprise was my dad. I'm sure I did a lot of wear and tear on the equipment and the like. So whatever little bit I earned, I should have, in hindsight, as an adult, I should have given it to my dad to maintain the equipment I damaged. But anyhow, I learned about hard work. I learned about negotiations. I learned about sales, not at the level you would learn as an adult, but as a kid, I thought I was pretty cool. So anyhow, that's my first experience being an entrepreneur. After that, I pretty much went to like what everyone else did in school. I went and got a job, like summer jobs or part-time jobs. I worked as an employee. That's where my money came from, minimum wage jobs. So I did that probably through high school and some college. I did do some work after college. Anyhow, I did try doing my own thing again. I did not try doing my own thing again until I was in college. I remember it was my first or second year in school. I wanted to make a few extra bucks. This is before I got financial aid for school and the like. I just needed some extra bucks to get me through the summer until I got work study again. So I did earn some money doing some basic math tutoring. And when I did it this first time, it was basically I came to people's homes and tutored kids in elementary school, high school, college. But in hindsight, the money that I did make back then all just went to the gas to cover me going to and from kids' homes and students' homes, and probably buying a Big Mac on the way home for dinner. But since college, I've tried several endeavors, some of which were successes and some failures. But I got to the point, like a lot of people do in our culture in the United States, is I gave up my dreams of entrepreneurship to the addiction of the paycheck, the benefits, the stability. You get married and you have kids and you buy a house, you have responsibilities. And so those days of doing your own thing kind of gets crushed because you want to have that predictability of a paycheck. And especially as you get older, you get closer to retirement, you don't want to give that up because that's the rest of your life after you leave work. But every time I did, I had fun. I had a lot of fun. And I learned a lot more about business. So anyhow, here's some pros and cons about doing your own thing or being an entrepreneur. Freedom. Okay, when you're doing your own thing, you have a lot more freedom. Also I want to remind you, so if I refer to any other videos in my video, I will have some more links down below, so you can watch those as well that may fill in some of the gaps of things I talk about here. But anyhow, you do have freedom to do what you want to do. I mean, up to it, it has to be legal. It's one of my caveats, be legal and ethical. But the thing is you can work on things that are more in line with your purpose. Why are you here? I have a video about that and the link will be down below. And so, a lot of us, and I'm guilty of it, I did it most of my life, got jobs to where it was for the money. I mean, it may have started out for fun and my purpose, but over time it was just, I'm working for a paycheck because, reorgs and things change in whatever company you work for, and you may get separated from that purpose, but you stay because you want to have that paycheck and medical insurance and everything else. Another positive is creativity. You have more leeway to try new things. okay? Or in a job, you may be told to stay within the box of what you can do. You know, you can't go outside that box. That's so-and-so's job. Or you may want to try a new way of doing things, and, you know, the company has their policies and procedures and their ways of doing things. For instance, if you're very, very creative and you come up with something like inventions, say. I worked at one company that when you sign the dotted line to join that company is that if you come up with any inventions and it's something to be patented, you can't patent it. They eat the patent and they get all the rewards of that, say a new part for an airplane or a car or whatever it is your company builds. And you get the credit as far as your name's on there that you created it, but they own it. They own your idea. When you're doing your own thing, it's your own idea, good, bad, or indifferent. Your schedule and your hours, you have flexibility. One of the things you can do is you can pick and choose when you take days off, especially when you're a solopreneur doing your own thing. You have no employees, you're on your own, you can do your own thing. If you start getting bigger, and it depends on what you're doing. If you're opening up a shop, you know, say a computer repair shop or a coffee shop, you know, you have a little less flexibility when you're starting out because you need to have people do, you know, if you're open every day, you got to have someone working there, right? And so get the people trained up, people you can trust, and get them doing it for you. But anyhow, your schedule and your hours are flexible. Like when you work, an hourly job, you know, you clock in at a certain time, you clock out for a break, you clock out for lunch, you clock out when you go home at the end of the day. And, you know, they may not want you going over 8 hours because that'll charge them overtime, you know, which is good for you, but it's hard on them. So when you got your own gig going and you got, you know, things are rolling, say for instance, if you're some sort of contractor, you know, you're working on building houses and it's summertime and you got a lot more daylight left and you got a lot more energy left, go for it. Go ahead and finish whatever it is you do, whether it's flooring or electrical or whatever, do it. But if you're working for someone else, they may say, hey, we clock out at 5, you got to get out of here. You know, someone's telling you how and when to do your job. Location. Nowadays we have things like Zoom, where you can meet with people. You don't have to be face to face. You don't need the overhead of an office building or anything like that. Depending on what you do, like if you're doing teaching or tutor, like what I'm doing, teaching, tutoring videos, you can do it from home. You can do it from home, office, car. I mean, I've done videos while I was driving. You know, not an interactive video, I wasn't in a meeting, but I was, you know, recording some thoughts that I published. From your car, you can go to a coffee house, in and out of the state. You know, there's times to where I've been on vacation and have had meetings from my hotel room, you know, before I go down to the beach and soak up some sun. Dial in either on phone or on something like Zoom and have a conversation, you know, work on a meeting, work on getting stuff done. A lot of things you can work remotely if you have a remote kind of, I call it a job, but it may not be a job for you. You know, if you're a coder, you know, if you're working for a company that does coding, if they allow you to work from home, maybe they'll allow you to work from your vacation spot and do some checking and things like that on some code. Licenses, certification, and seniority. Okay, certain jobs you have, and I'm kind of glad they have it, like doctors and lawyers, they have to have licenses. They have to gotten through certain kind of training. So when you're doing your own thing, I'm not talking about doing medicine without a license, but there's other things you can do. Like for instance, a field that I'm familiar with, if you're a real estate agent, a salesperson, you have to have a license. You have to work under a broker, okay? I call that a quasi job. Even though you're working for someone, you have a little bit more flexibility, but you have to have a license, okay? Now, if you're investing in real estate, you know, buying and flipping houses or buying an apartment house to put your money in and things like that, that doesn't require a certification or license. I mean, you better get some training and some experience, but you don't need to go through the state and get a license to own a rental property in most places, okay? Seniority. I've been in jobs in my lifetime to where I was part of a union, and in order for me to get to the next pay grade, it was a waiting game. It was seniority. I could only do so much until I met a certain date, and by that time I get a promotion to the next level. I could have been a stellar employee or a crappy one, and it's based on the calendar or the clock. Okay, let's get down into taxes here. Now, I'm not a tax professional. Don't consider what I say gospel. You know, if you're going to start doing this kind of stuff, get with your tax person or an accountant and find out what's legal and so on and so forth, and how you do it in the area you live in. Employees are taxed before they're paid. Okay, you get paid after all your deductions, whether it's state or local, federal, Social Security, things like that. There are less write-offs that you can do. Taxes are set up now to where you have like the minimum deduction, like things that you used to be able to write off. This is from personal experience. You can write off medical things. You can't write that off anymore. So basically you work and you pay the taxes they tell you to, okay? Excuse me. When you're in business,
it's okay.
Sorry, my watch got hit. You pay yourself first. Basically what it is that the money you make, you pay yourself first. You can use that to reinvest in your company. You have more deductions and write-offs when it's related to your business. So the thing is at the end of the year when you're getting ready to pay taxes, a lot of that is a write-off. So that things that you spend money on, you get back when you do your taxes. When you're an employee, you don't do that. You know, you pay your taxes first, and at the end of the year, you try to see if you have any write-offs. So it can be more beneficial tax-wise, but again, talk to a professional. Depending on what kind of business you have or what you're trying to do, talk to them. Okay, so your income. Now this is the part you should listen to. Your income is limited by your employer, okay? And let me give you some examples in my life, how it affected me. I remember a couple times I was told by my boss, and I said, you know, I like to move up, I like to make some more money, I will do what it takes, how do I get promotion and things like that. And I was told several times that you do this level of work while you're at this level, and if you're doing this well, you'll get a promotion, which usually means an increase in salary. Well, that wasn't a guarantee, and even though I did what I thought I was told, my end of the stick, they didn't hold up their end of the bargain. Now, when you're self-employed, yeah, there's some limits to how much you can charge. I mean, it's by the value you present, things like that. If you are digging a ditch, whether you're doing it for someone else, as an employee or yourself, there's a limit to what people will pay for you digging a ditch, okay? But if you can do things like expandability, start hiring people, creating a way to leverage what you have to bring more value into the market, if you're making widgets of some sort, like, what was it, back in the 70s or 80s, they had pet rocks. People just took rocks, little rocks, and they would paint faces on them and polish them up and put them in a box and make it look like they're, a little bird and being delivered in a little cardboard box. Yeah, if you could find a way to get that produced in a mass proportions, you could really increase your income. If you're doing painting, say painting a house and you're your own contractor, say for instance, you hire people instead of doing entry-level houses, you have the skills and the wherewithal to paint multiple level houses, apartment complexes, people's houses that are in wealthier, gated communities, things like that, you can increase your potential earnings. So potentially it's unlimited. It just depends on what you do. So there's that as far as income is concerned. Overhead, payroll, insurance. Now this is one that keeps a lot of us as employees. And the reason being is these are all things you got to do, especially if you have employees and you offer insurance, and even if you're self-insured, things like that. When you work for someone else is taking care of that for you. It's going to be automatically deducted from your paycheck for your health insurance, whatever portion you pay. If you have employees, someone working for you, there's the payroll department. They take care of that. When you're self-employed, especially starting out, you are the chief executive officer of everything, okay? So whether that is human resources, payroll, insurance, whatever, you're taking care of that. But as you grow and you get going in your business, a lot of those things you can hire out. And I'm not, when I say hire out, I don't necessarily mean a full-time employee. I'm talking about companies will do that for you. You can hire someone part-time, just have them come in, pay them for the time that they're there to get it done. So anyhow, and also when you hire these people out or companies out to do these functions for you, that's also a deduction for your taxes. Okay, so let's get down to risk. Okay, as an employee, that's handled and reduced by your employer. Okay, if you work in a shop, they have certain rules and regulations as to how to do things so that you're less likely to get hurt or hurt someone else or break the equipment. And if you get injured on the job, depending on the size of the company, they may have a medical facility there where they can go stitch you up if you cut yourself, paper cut or something happened in the shop. They have trainings and rules, and losses are absorbed by the employer. So like if you're out for a couple days to mend up, that's their issue. You still get paid. You get sick time or whatever. But as a self-employee, if you fail, it's on you, baby. It is. So if you're a solopreneur, like a one-man band or one-person company, if you can't work, you don't make money, okay? You don't have sick time or whatever. You may lose some of your business. I mean, something needed, say you're working on an urgent job, that's why you got hurt, is that you're trying to rush. And then you aren't able to finish, they'll go someplace else and get it. So risk-wise, as far as things like that, you have to weigh that. And if you're careful and you got all your bases covered and all your I's dotted and T's crossed, you'll be okay. But the thing is that is a difference between being an employee and being self-employed, is how risk is managed. Let's see what else we got on there. Okay, talking about risk. Now this isn't physical risk. This is more like coming up with your ideas. If you try a new idea, it could take off like a rocket or fail and kill your business. I'm sure you've heard a lot of people starting up some sort of new business and they're only open, say, a restaurant or whatever. You drive by the restaurant and there's no cars parked out in the parking lot, and the lights are on but no one's sitting down, kind of a thing. Or you've seen some places to where they come out with a new service and within 6 months you see them opening up other businesses. So in other words, like a chain of whatever, whether it's auto repair or restaurants, whatever. But you can go either direction. But the thing is the risk taking that you take as an employee is limited quite a bit compared to being your self-employed. You may come up to your boss and say, hey, why don't we try doing it this way? You can get a yes or a no, or try it, on your own time when you get these projects done. All right. So downturns. As an employee, just like 2008, almost every industry was hit hard. People were getting laid off right and left. People were going on furloughs. In other words, they were their hours were cut back, and they were paid accordingly because the company was hurting because of the economy. You know, think about it. You're just like a tool in the toolbox, you know, without certain state regulations or a union or whatever it is that you use to protect yourself from the employer. You are basically a tool, okay? And I hate to say that, it doesn't sound like fun, but you're a tool for the employer. And if you know what hits the fan, especially if you're in a seniority situation, you're on the bottom of the seniority totem pole, or your function, as it were, can be done by people more senior or other people. They can start whittling down employees, and you could be the one going out the door. I mean, you know, sometimes they have, some unions have some benefits. They'll help you out while you're looking for another job or unemployment. But the thing is, think about 2008, what it was like then. I mean, everybody got hit. I still had my job, thankfully. But I tell you, every day I was waiting for that pink slip to come into my cube and say, okay, Don, your time to go. Because there was people that have been around longer than me that got laid off. When you're self-employed, you have more flexibility. You know, say for instance, there is a downturn. You can negotiate with your customers. You can pivot, go another direction, or adapt to changes fast. When you're a smaller company, you can make big changes. And say for instance, commercial real estate takes a crap, and there's no market for it. And say you're a painter or some sort of contractor, or that's your business, and they don't want to paint their buildings now because they're not making any money either. But, you know, being a painter or something like that, you can pivot and take those skills and apply it to something that is growing. Say, for instance, hotels are still in vogue and they need some work done. You can go work with them. You know, that could be your customer. Things like that. You're able to shift gears quicker being self-employed than you are an employee. But like 2008, like I said, everything was hit. I was both in real estate and also I was in IT, and I got it from both ends. But fortunately I was able to keep my job. But yeah, real estate was hit really hard. Okay, growth. Tony Robbins said something years ago that stuck in my mind like a brain tattoo, and that is, the more people you serve, the more money you will make. So that's leveraging your audience size. Remember, this is in one of the videos I had before, and I'll put it down in the comments, is that when I had my little statistics tutoring gig in college, I had a guy come in that was getting tutored from me, and he suggested bringing more people in. In other words, instead of doing one-on-one tutoring, doing group tutoring, I could lower my rate per person, but the amount of money I made per hour, because it was one-to-many relationships at one-on-one, was significantly larger because I was serving more people in the time that I was doing tutoring. And that's what Tony talks about, is that, you know, if you're doing like he does coaching, if he does one-on-one coaching, you know, to get the same amount of money, you're gonna have to pay a lot to get his attention. But when he has these large events to where he has thousands of people in these arenas that he's getting all pumped up, yeah, that's a lot of money, man. So again, the more people you serve, the more money you can make. Scaling, that's the same thing I was talking about. The more customers at the same time over time. When you're an employee, that usually doesn't apply. I remember when I worked in IT, I had a couple of gigs where I was teaching a computer class, and I got paid the same whether I had one person in class or 30 people in class. And so scaling worked for the organization I was with, the training organization, because they made more money per head, but I didn't. So anyhow, when you're doing it as a entrepreneur, there's ways to expand and make more money that way. Expand, expand what you're doing. If you are in the food business, say for instance, you own a restaurant and it's going gangbusters, and say you're in a strip mall and you want to expand, okay, well, if you have a small unit, you can only get so big. Maybe you can have some outdoor seating, something like that. One of the restaurants I used to go to years ago, they knocked out the wall and expanded into the next space, and so they're able to expand their restaurant. And so what they do, they hired a few more wait staff, they expanded their kitchen, and they were able to serve more people. And so, needless to say, they're making more money. Or you could franchise out. Say if you have a winning recipe for a restaurant and other people could replicate it, use the name of your restaurant, go through your rules, go through your processes. You could franchise that out. They make money, but also you make money because you license out, how you do business, kind of a thing. Expandability. If you own rental homes, okay, here's an idea. You don't necessarily have to build anything on. They have things called ADUs now, auxiliary dwelling units, that is real popular on the west coast of the United States, where they build a small, like a she shed kind of a thing out in the back, and they rent that out. So even though the front part or the main house is yours, you can rent out the back part and have some income on there. So that's expandability. You expanded your property without expanding the property line or building something onto your house. You added something to the property that made it, now it's a rental. You can convert, say for instance, if there's laundry there, like if you provide washer and dryer, instead of just having it free, you can convert it to pay. So you put whatever they use for pay now, whether it's cards or coins or tokens. There's another way to expand your income that way. And then this is what I call sleep money. Create something that pulls money when you're not working. Now this is fantastic, because this is something I've always looked into, because as you can tell by my face, I'm not a kid, okay? So here's the thing is, if something happens to me and I can't work anymore, how am I gonna live? I need to have income, right? I mean, whether you're stuck at home or out kicking up your heels somewhere, you still gotta have income to pay for the expenses of your rent or your mortgage, your car insurance, blah, 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 blah. So anyhow, sleep money is something you create that pulls in money when you're not working. Some people call it passive income. It's kind of iffy in that situation, but what it is you're making income, but you're not directly working on it. Okay, so for instance, some of the things I thought about, classes online that you pre-record and people pay to take those classes, subscription services, like if you have a newsletter that you put out weekly or monthly, for those of us that like to write, have someone subscribe to it, and it automatically deducts from their bank account and pays you for their access to your newsletter. You can publish books, write books if you really like to write. You can get some books going, and the thing is once they're out there, they are out there. So if it takes off and people start buying your books, you can go take your vacation and go log into your bank account and say, hey, look, I got some royalties here. Okay, let's see what else we got. Service and purpose. Okay. Doctors, say for instance, a lot of doctors now, when I was a kid, most doctors had their own shingle on the wall. They had their own little private practice. They would have a nurse, maybe a receptionist. Sometimes the nurse was both the receptionist and the nurse. Paperwork was really easy back then, so basically that was their business, just one person and one employee. And nowadays a lot of doctors, because of how complex billing is, they work at places like HMOs, to where it's a job. They work 8-9 hours a day or less, and just see patients, do their paperwork, their notes, and at the end of the day they go home just like anyone else who has a job. Let's see here. Yeah, so like if you're working as a doctor, or a healthcare provider of some sort, you may find that as being your purpose, okay? I like helping people, I like curing people, I like being a healer. But at the end of the day, it's a job, okay? So, and you're limited in what you can do, because if you're a particular, like if you're a general practitioner, a family doctor, or primary care, you can only do this. Now, if you were also studied about how to treat busted ankles, they may have you refer somebody. That's their procedure. You can't expand into that. Also, these HMOs have formularies, like for what kind of medication they can prescribe, or they may push you to push certain medications out the door with your patients. If you also have been trained in holistic healthcare of certain ways, to where you can help people deal with their anxiety, and not just by giving them a pill, but teach them how to meditate or relax. Working for someone else, you probably can't do that. You may talk about it, but you can't do that with them. And you only, again, you can only see certain type of patients. When you're in private practice, oh, that's another thing with working as an HMO. It's a job, and they only get so much time per patient. You may have experienced that, where you're like, I want to talk about something, or you're getting into something that it was more about your condition, and then they can say, well, I got to go see my next patient now, and you're out the door. You got to make another appointment. In your private practice, it's the same thing. You know, if that's your purpose, to help people, and you want to be a doctor, you can spend as much time as you want with your patients, okay? You can schedule them accordingly. If you like giving 20 minutes a piece instead of 5 minutes a piece, you can do that. You can try different modalities of therapy, where you may not be able to try that when you're working in an HMO. You can pick and choose the hours you work. Like I've known some of these clinicians that have their own private practice. They'll have one weekend day a week they work, and they take a day off during the week. So people who can't get in during the week can see them on the weekends. And you can expand your service. Like, for instance, if you want to do some teaching, you can run an after hours class on, like diabetes or whatever, how to change your lifestyle to help you with your diabetes. And again, just like the restaurants, you can grow your business to have other healthcare professionals working for you. If you wanted to expand it, you can open up an office to where there's several professionals who can work with you. And doing that, it becomes more like a business, so that some of the money that comes in for when patients see them, you get a piece of that action, just like rentals. Okay, so why do I prefer entrepreneurship for myself and encourage others to do it? Well, all the above that I just talked about, all the pluses there. Purpose, I want to do what I believe I was meant to do and make income doing it. Fulfillment is a strong motivator. It's like when I did tutoring back in college. I remember not only did I teach the students how to do statistics, I taught them why we use statistics and what it's useful for. I brought some meaning to it, as opposed to like, just do these exercises and go, just get it over with. And also teaching them how to do our study skills that were you could leverage into other subjects as well, not just math. That I enjoyed, because it gave me some flexibility. And everybody that comes through your door when you're a tutor or any other provider of services like that, everybody's different, okay? They come from a different background, different experience, and being able to do some flexibility to see what you could do to help them more than you did, say, last time you saw them, because you have that, you can use your creativity. I really enjoyed that. You don't need to go through all the hoops, okay? When you are a, quote, employee, there are certain things you got to do. You got to interview, you got to do up a resume. I mean, there's a process to it, And when you're doing your own thing, it's a little more loose and freewheeling. You don't need to go through the hoops. Like for a real estate salesperson, you got to take classes constantly. A lot of providers of different things, whether you're a teacher or a real estate agent or psychotherapist, you're constantly taking CEs, continuing education units. you got to stay up on the latest and greatest. Well, I agree, that's a good idea to do that, but it's required for your license. You have to have a license. You have a boss, okay? Someone who may have different ideas on what you should be doing with your work time than you. Again, like the real estate investor, you don't have to do anything like that. I mean, it's good to stay educated. I always do agree with that. No matter what field you're in, stay educated, especially, what's going on with the law and things like that. Be ethical, be legal. Do that. Back to a counselor or therapist, you need a license. You have to go through supervision, things like that. You always have someone telling you what to do. Being a coach or a trainer, you have none of that, okay? So anyhow, I hope you found this helpful. Again, I like doing things in a more entrepreneurial way for all the reasons I stated. There's flexibility, creativity, expandability. You can do whatever it is you're doing one at a time and just make an hourly rate or a job rate, per job, how much you're going to charge. Or you can build it into an empire. It's up to you. Things you can't do as an employee, but as an entrepreneur you can if you want to. All right, that's all I have for today. I hope you found this video helpful. As always, thanks again and again. Thanks for watching. And remember, I'm going to put some links down below so you can go look at those other videos that are talk about more about the subjects I just talked about. And remember to like, subscribe, ring the bell, and comment and share with others, because I want to get these videos out to everybody that needs the help or would appreciate the help. And yeah, I appreciate that. That's what I charge you. Have a great day. See you on the next video. Bye-bye.